lounging, son.
Okay, and welcome back to another episode of the Comic Lounge Podcast, guys. I am your host, Dylan, the Food Butcher, with my host as always, with my co-host as always, Ryan, God of Thunder, and what was a good one? No, God of Flowers and Somersaults.
Somersaults.
Yeah, when they were talking about Chandrak, like he was talking about himself because he can remember he can't remember what god he is, and he's like, "Oh, I'm the god of flowers and somersaults. I'm the god of wine and thing." And then we find out eventually what he is.
I thought you called yourself the Food Butcher because you're a cook.
And
right. So I thought you were gonna say, for me, I could have been like the prep monster.
No.
You're all right.
You're
all
the
right.
food bomb god.
Flowers
and summers and somersaults.
Okay. All right. Whatever. That's fine. Anyways, let's quickly talk
about this. This was such a refreshing trip down memory lane.
Yes.
And of course, we're talking about Thor, the Mighty Thor, God of Thunder, by Jason Aaron and Esad Ribic. This off the top, I will say this is what made me a Thor fan. I never read the Simonson run, so I mean, I've heard fantastic things. I'm going to eventually, but as comic readers, we have the thing known as the never-ending TBR pile. So it'll eventually get read, but I just don't know when.
Yeah, it's just too much. It's too much. It's a real problem, dude. That's why I'm so excited to take a month off. When we take a month off when I take a month off from recording, like the interviews and stuff, I am just gonna like power through. Because instead of waking up, I kind of like waking up, reading, and having my coffee, and I haven't been doing that because all I do is edit.
Yeah.
So this morning was nice.
The early morning quiet coffee is the best.
This morning was so nice. I was like finishing up some Thor for the next episode that we're recording, and it was just so nice, quiet. Sun was out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Drinking fucking nice hot coffee and reading some Jason Aaron Thor.
This did for me what Jeff Johns did for Green Lantern. It definitely invigorated this newfound love that I have for a character that I cared very little about prior to. You know what I mean? This made like I said, this made me a Thor fan. I legitimately always thought Thor was kind of fucking lame. Long blonde hair and his stupid wing hat. Like the fuck.
I have to say, I feel like I've changed my own history. With this. No, hold on. Hear me out.
I gotta hear this.
You gotta hear this. So, I often say this is what made me a Thor fan, right? I'm like, Jason Aaron is much like you just said. But then I go back in my collection and then I think back on the Thor that preceded this run, and I liked it then. So I don't know why I always say Jason Aaron. Maybe this is what solidified my fandom of Thor. But J. Michael Straczynski and Olivier Coipel did an awesome Thor.
No.
Amazing when he comes back from the dead after Ragnarok in Civil War. And that also was really good. The Michael Avon Oeming, his Thor arc that led up to, or was the Avengers Disassembled arc. Okay, that was really good as well too. Now that didn't make me a Thor fan, but I think the J. Michael Straczynski and then Matt Fraction also did a run.
He also did a run.
So it's like
there's a lot of good writers on Thor.
So I'm like, do I just keep erasing is my memory just erasing because Jason Aaron his run is just so much better? I don't know, but I agree. Like Jason Aaron,
you subconsciously just forgotten about.
I'm subconsciously erasing those other runs because this is the run to me, the run for Thor. Now people say Walt Simonson is the greatest run of Thor. I feel like this is what I will compare to, because I do appreciate the other runs, but Jason Aaron, when I picked up this book, I picked it up because I did like Thor already.
Yeah.
But this is what made Thor top 5 favorite characters in comics for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I compare Jason Aaron and Walt Simonson's runs.
We should read Simonson's run together.
It's like comparing Michael Jordan and LeBron.
Right.
That's what I feel like. But
Okay.
You know what I mean?
When solid. I will take that comparison.
But I'm not saying that I can't say I like it better than Simonson's run because I haven't read it. But like that's what I would compare it to. And I'm not saying I'll pick LeBron over Jordan either. Like LeBron may be playing for my team right now, but I don't know how you argue that Michael Jordan isn't the GOAT. And I'm not trying to piss people off that are basketball. I don't know how many basketball fans.
Look, okay, I will just say this. Like Kobe, LeBron, fantastic, great, legendary players will live on forever in the history of the sport. But Michael Jordan is the difference between basketball players before him and the basketball players that came after him. He is the catalyst for what we know today as modern basketball. So
yeah, see that, and then I didn't even bring in Kobe. Like you take Kobe, LeBron, and Jordan. I pick Kobe every day of the week.
I'll pick Kobe.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like,
but also he was our era too.
Yeah,
and the fact that we literally grew up with him. So
right, and the fact that Kobe's not mentioned all the time kind of always pisses me off. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about basketball. Yeah. We're talking about Thor. Okay. Let's get into Jason Aaron's Thor, the God Butcher, and how amazing and how like this was a resurgence for a cool era at what Marvel was doing, right? Hickman doing Avengers. The Cap wasn't super high on of this era. Remender was writing Cap at this time. Now, I never really dug what was going on with Cap in this era. And Iron Man was Kieran Gillen. Also, didn't really enjoy.
The only thing I liked about that Iron Man was the suit. I'll be honest.
The black and gold.
The black and gold suit was
that was pretty dope. That was
the space, the Guardians of the Galaxy suit.
Yes, but this is the shining light. Jason Aaron's Thor, Hickman's Avengers, right? From this era. But this is just something. This is like on a whole different level of what a good Marvel comic could be. Like this is like almost poetry. Like I was reading it again, and I'm reading like the captions, and it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's like you're reading an old tomb that's giving you the history. Like that. Like we are some far off future reading the history of this this myth. Right. That's what it feels like as I'm reading it.
It's mythical. It's epic. It's Esad Ribic is like. He was the perfect choice. I don't see anybody else doing this with Jason Aaron, right?
Nobody else could have done this.
Right? And like every character was full of life and full of emotion. Like even the minuscule like godlings and the side god characters, like everything about this, how this was structured, how it was pieced together, like the time travel shenanigans weren't even really shenanigans at all. Like it was. I like how when they start getting into the time travel stuff, Thor himself was like, this must be like all the alternate future, alternate past things that the X-Men are always going on about.
Yeah. I mean, I love this is where we get young Thor. And we get old man Thor, right? Yeah. King Thor. And it's cool to look back because I just realized that I don't even remember the last time I read these. It's been a long time. This may only be my second time reading it.
I think so.
And I tell myself a different history like that happens. Like I told myself, I've read this multiple times. I guess I didn't. You know, like. Because I'm realizing, like, oh fuck, or maybe I read it twice. I might have read.
But that speaks volumes, though, doesn't it? Like you've read it once, maybe twice. Let's just say
Yeah.
maybe twice. Maybe this may be your third time, right?
Right, right.
Once, maybe twice, and look how much it has resonated. Like everything, all the tones of this book, the art, some of the one-liners. Like I forgot some about some of the one-liners. There's a one-liner in here. Like it's in the second volume. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But like everything, right down to the script, right down to just the storytelling. It's literal storytelling in the captions, right? And man, Jason Aaron does it so masterfully. He really created a larger than life god out of Thor. I mean, like you said, like please, I haven't read Simonson's run. I haven't read much Thor, to be honest. Like I've only read this Thor and every Thor after, and because it was 7 years, so it's a lot of Thor.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I think what he did for the character is it's unparalleled. I mean, besides Simonson and what Simonson did, it's funny that you bring that up because I did bring book 1 home. Walt Simonson's, because I'm like, I gotta read it. It's got Beta Ray Bill in it. It's got the intro to that, and I've always wanted to read that run and I never have. But
we should read
I think that Jason Aaron, what he does for Thor, he humanizes him, and that is at the heart of his entire run. And I know we're not talking about his entire run. We're just talking about this. But you knowing what we get at the end, like you see it now in the beginning, like what he was really going for. And, this isn't a perfect Thor. He's not like the present Thor, right? Like he's not perfect. And we see, because like we're learning about Gore and how he's killing gods, right? And
which is crazy, right? Okay, so let's just touch on that for a second. We're talking about a mere person, because like we get his backstory later on, but we all we know is he's crazy. He's mad at the gods, and he's going around killing all the gods in the entire galaxy, and all the pantheons on every world. He's going off and trying to kill them because of the simple fact his mission is to prove that the universe doesn't need gods. That concept in itself is fucking mind-blowing, right? And you have to, I feel like that's never been done as far as, just having mythology play a major part in your storytelling, right?
Yeah.
Like that, it's never been done. Like, immortal killing gods, becoming immortal himself, and friggin' spanning throughout multiple timelines, killing gods. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's nuts. And like Thor being the only one to survive, young Thor being the only one to survive, and then the fear that Thor has. Like he still had, like he's not scared of shit. You don't ever see Thor scared, but he is. The memory that he had going into that cave all those centuries ago, right? It's centuries. And like the way he talks about time and how it's just a blip to him, and like memories fade because like he's immortal. So I love, dude, Jason Aaron just like really gives the character this gravitas. You know what I mean? Like, and this depth to it. And then the art, which is like a fine paint, literally each page is like you're looking at a fucking painting that could be in a gallery, right? Like, Esad Ribic is just on some other kind of level and adds to the story in a way that I don't know that every artist could have added to this. Now, Jason is paired with multiple great artists throughout this run. I don't want to take anything away from the guest artists that do the in between arcs issues, or Dodderman, who comes onto the book. But I think that these first, like the first couple arcs, the first run of the series, while it's called God of Thunder, Esad Ribic is just phenomenal. And I mean, I like just like flipping through it, it's amazing. And like talking, and it really like dives into what a god means to mortals, right? Like he's going around and these gods, that's how, he discovers like these gods are dead. They're missing. Where have they been? I don't like
that. And that those first few couple pages, that's still one of the most resonating things to me. When the little girl from the other planet prays, and he shows up, she straight up tells him like, oh, like I didn't think you'd actually do it. I didn't think you'd come. And then he hits her with like, what kind of God would I be if I didn't answer prayers? Like, oh,
I know.
Woo!
I know. It's so crazy because that's something that like Jason Aaron plays with religion also, right? In The Goddamned. And I think that to take like religious aspect, like just to take a deity or a god and people's beliefs and to infuse that in to Thor, I mean, it just like this book hits on so many different levels, man. You know what I mean? Like it's just this is like the best Jason Aaron. Besides Scalped, I love Scalped, and his Wolverine is good, but his Ghost Rider is good. But
his Ghost Rider is good,
and he plays with religion and Ghost Rider as well, right? Like so, this is something that's a recurring theme, and that he plays with. But his Thor run, it's just like I challenge anybody that's listening and watching us. Thor to the comic. Where does his run ever falter? Never. This run is from the beginning until the very end with War of the Realms and King Thor. It's just always good. It's always good. It's like, the most consistent Marvel run. Like 7 years? How do you do that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
and did it consistently. And he always did things throughout this entire run that made your jaw drop.
Yeah.
Like when he reintroduced Doctor Doom at the end of time. Like what?
Yeah.
When he introduced fucking Phoenix Force Wolverine. What? Yeah. Like, his stuff is just like his entire run was just the most metal I've ever seen like a comic can be, you know what I mean? Like it was very metal. It was like and the visuals of it, it's like it could be painted on the side of a van. Like, you know what I mean? It's this run like I feel like set the tone for like what I expected Marvel Comics could be.
Yeah.
Because when I started working with you on the stuff for Comic Lounge, that's right around the time War of the Realms was just in the inklings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right in the inklings of the War of the Realms, and to know that it went 7 years and that it was as solid as it was is unheard of, dude.
Yeah.
Unheard of.
It's also crazy it took us 2 years, a little over 2 years, to finally talk about, and we've been talking about wanting to get into Jason Aaron's Thor basically since I started the site and since you were part of it. We're like, we have to cover Jason Aaron's Thor. I'm glad we waited to do this visually, like with video on YouTube, as opposed to just writing an article, because like you can't really convey the excitement in the written word. You can, but like you don't get to see our passion and our fucking like just diehard fanboyness for this run and how much we really love Jason Aaron's Thor. You know what I mean? Like, I think like every review we did for War of the Realms, I think you and I went back and forth with issues, if I remember correctly. King Thor, I think we might have gone back and forth. I think I might have written the final one. But it's just, this first arc just sets up. It really is crazy to go back and read it because it sets up so much shit that some of it doesn't even pay off for 7 years. Like, he fucking lays the groundwork in God Butcher that will fucking expand outwards throughout his run. And
if you're a Donny Cates fan, and you read Venom, a lot of what Donny Cates uses spawns from from Jason Aaron's Thor.
Right. And we'll talk about that in the next arc in God Butcher, because we learn more about that. But God Bomb, I mean, is what I meant to say. But I love seeing the three Thors. Like, that to me is just really cool, and it's a cool tool that he utilizes multiple times. He doesn't fucking like do it too much, because that could be like a trick that just gets played out, but he doesn't.
He doesn't.
You know what I mean? Like, and he even he says it later in the next arc, like, oh, this is probably something we won't do too much. Like, we won't see each other this frequently. But I like how like Gore. It's weird because like time the way time is connected. Like Gore is coming back in the present, but it's also we're connecting into the past Thor with the first fight that he does, and then in the future where Gore's what does he call them? The black, basically like they're basically like his black creatures that he sends out.
Oh, the Black Berserkers.
Black Berserkers. So like they're attacking King Thor and stuff, and I remember from like when I first read it and I saw King Thor at the end of time, the feelings I got, and he just looks so just like worn. Just time has not been kind to this dude at all. He lost an eye. He fucking doesn't have an arm. It's from fucking Destroyer, or you know what I mean, like. And I'm just like, what the fuck happened? Like, I
hear that Metallica song, King Nothing.
Okay.
Let your head, King Nothing. He's just like fucking just Asgard is the shit.
Yeah, like, it's just like, and I remember my feelings back then. I was just like, man, I want to know how he got to this point.
Yeah.
You know, that was my first thought. I'm like, you could tell me that you're not even going to write present Thor anymore. And that's how much I was invested from the get-go. Now, I've said this multiple times too I think I even told Jason himself when I interviewed him, was that I was late to the party on the run, not because I didn't pick up the book.
Oh yeah.
But I was in fucking jail when the book launched, or I was in rehab. It might have overlapped. I don't know, but there was no. I mean, because I know that if I was able to, this book would have been picked up with number 1. Because I was picking up all Thor. Like from the minute J. Michael Straczynski started writing Thor until I went away, I was getting Thor regularly. Like I liked the character. I didn't love the character, but I liked him. At that I think at the time I was more of an Iron Man Cap guy with Brubaker's Cap and Fraction's Iron Man. Those are my favorite characters, right? And then Thor became a favorite with Jason Aaron. But so like I was late to it. I picked up God Butcher, and I think God Bomb was just ended. And they didn't have the single issues on the stand, so I was like, whatever, I'll just get the fucking trade. And this was at a time where I didn't buy trades really. Like I was all about, I need the singles. It was the only way I could get it, and I powered through both volumes, and I just was absolutely blown away. And I was just as blown away on this reread as I was when I first picked up the book.
Yeah,
it is still amazing.
It's so good. I'm going to talk about the art for a second. So once we get a good motion of Gore and a good feel for what he is, the amount of darkness and how they utilize shadow with him, like with every panel he's in, like even the panels where like the shadow looks like it's consuming like King Thor, and all you see is King Thor's like screaming face. Like, oh man, that's just, there's this eerie silence to it, and there's a lot of these very big moments that Esad Ribic captures where it's like Thor is like this big, but then he'll draw the whole landscape for you, and it'll be something monumental and epic and just visually stunning. Like, I can't wait for the movie.
Oh, dude,
because
Christian Bale.
Like,
can you imagine
Christian Bale as Gore? Gore has some of the best lines in this comic. Gore has some of the best lines in this comic, especially when he says, "Oh, you're," when he calls young Thor, "Oh, you're my favorite. You're my favorite of the Thors." like what, of the Thors?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, I mean, every like I said, like every character, even all those side characters, they're so full of emotion, and mainly that emotion is fear and like terror and fucking pain and suffering. But man, it is conveyed so well, so freaking well. Like, I mean, what else can I say about this first book?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to like, because I know we're doing an episode with Godbomb, but it's so hard to like not go forward. You know what I mean? Like, to just talk about the arc, and especially since we know where it ends up. Because if we go too much, we talk too much about it, then it's like, well, what do we talk about at God Bomb? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
we don't have much to say. Um,
Yeah.
I think that this is one of the strongest. First of all, this is one of the strongest first issues to a new run
Yeah.
that I've ever seen. Right? Like from issue 1, I'm like, I'm here for this. You know, even though I mean, obviously I bought the trade, but just looking at that first chapter, then looking at that first arc, what a fucking hell of a first arc to start your run with. You know what I mean? Like Jason Aaron he went for it, dude. He fucking went for it. Full blast, metal as fuck, like Ride of the Valkyries type of fucking energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he just fucking like I could hear like some epic fucking music. Bum, 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 you know what I mean? Like in
Yeah.
my head as I'm reading it, like he just knew how to fucking grab you and fucking pull you in with this first
Like
arc. And
if the movie is taking a lot from Jason Aaron's run, taking a lot from, which I think it is, because
I mean,
obviously
I
there's
think this
gore.
is pretty much Jason Aaron's Thor in film, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how is
That
it not? Gore the God Butcher. We got Jane Foster as Thor. Like this is Jason Aaron's.
this is
What?
baby. This,
Not,
this is gonna be his baby. But
yeah.
like I feel like I feel like a lot of the scenes, a lot of the battle scenes, is gonna be a sight to behold. I think this is gonna be the best Thor film ever.
In my
Like,
top 3 Marvel films.
yeah,
I
and
think it
and you
might
got and you got and you, got- and
a
you
lot
have to
of the
think about it
first.
like this too. He's the only MCU character that's getting his 4th movie.
I think because of how popular Ragnarok was, you know, because
Yeah.
not many people are like kind of whatever about the first Thor. A lot of
The first 2 Thors were kind of trash.
and
Okay.
you know, I haven't seen the second one in a long time. Nick's like, maybe you should go back and watch it because it actually was pretty good. I've only seen it the first. I think I only saw it twice. Initially in the theater, and then when I got it on Blu-ray. I think Thor is probably the one of the most popular next to Iron
No,
Man.
yeah, no, for sure. For
Right?
sure.
I mean, I think more so than Cap. I think Cap was like people love the Cap movies, but I don't think he was ever like one of the most popular MCU characters. But Thor, like he stole the show, dude. Rack
He stole the
great
show in the first Avengers. He stole the show in
and
Infinity War.
game. I mean, Fat Thor. I
Fat
mean,
Thor.
come on, dude. I mean, like, so what? You're right. The fact that he's getting a 4th film is very telling. I think it also has something to do with the fact that Chris Hemsworth is willing to do another one. He started later, like there was already 2 Iron Man movies before we got a Thor,
Yeah.
right? So Robert Downey Jr. like he's done more films than Chris Hemsworth has done. I think up to this point, right? Like he's been in more. They just haven't been doing it for as many years.
Yeah, there you go.
Like Robert Downey Jr. was there from the beginning. He was the one that was there at the beginning of what we know as the MCU. So I think it's great that Chris Hemsworth is still like excited to do it. I think Taika Waititi, what he did with the 3rd Thor film, and the fact that they're bringing him back, he gave it a completely new kind of vibe and a new kind of energy. And I fully believe in him and him adapting Jason Aaron's Thor and what he's going to do with Gore, the God Butcher. I think
What
it's
what got me super hyped for it was when Natalie Portman posted a picture of her reading freaking Goddess of Thunder, and I was like, yeah, let's go.
yeah. I mean,
Oh,
I can't wait. I think we'll eventually get through to those 2. I don't want to like do like 10 weeks of Thor on the channel because I like to keep it diverse, but we will get through Jason Aaron's Thor run eventually. I think it'll be cool to kind of like do little chunks.
we should do the beginnings of each of the runs, right? Of each of the major runs. So right now we're doing the beginning of thing. Then we should go Unworthy. Then we should do Jane Foster, and then on to closer to the War of the Realms stuff.
Yeah, I'm down.
Like,
I'm down.
Like just the beginning arcs. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say about God Butcher because I want to, I want to.
I want to talk about God Bomb now.
Yeah. So that's all we got for God Butcher. If you have not picked up Jason Aaron's Thor, shame on you.
Literally.
Shame on you for not reading it. If you are a Marvel fan, or if you're not reading superhero comics, fine. I'll give you a
We'll
pass.
let that slide. Hi, Jen.
Yeah, we'll let it slide, Jen. But if you are a fucking superhero fan of superhero comics, shame on you if you haven't picked this up. This is the greatest one of the greatest runs Marvel has ever produced. One of the between Marvel and DC, one of the greatest superhero comic books ever done in the history of superhero comic books. So go pick that up and join us next episode when we talk about God Bomb. And if you're not already following us, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. Dylan at The Dillbot on Instagram. Dillbot is dope on Twitter. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video goes up. And on that note, we're out.
Later, buds.